to situations where we'll try to take up both industry academia point of views here. And I've already shared my set of questions with all of you, so I think all of you are at least on board on the discussion points. But we'll try to keep it. We won't really stick to a Q&A here. We'll try to go with the flow and question and counter question each other, and also sort of understand how the entire situation is working here as well.
Madam Tanya, for your first question, can I use one slide for your first question to answer your first question?
Sure, sir.
The one which you have pointed to me. For that, I'd like to make use of one slide. Okay.
Slide. Yes.
So
what I'll do is
transfer the share control to me at that time when my turn.
Sir, I will take care of that. My team is also listening, so that's done. Okay. We'll do that.
Good, thank you.
We'll make you the co-host, so you can just start sharing your screen and while you answer that question. So, is there anybody else who has any such requests? Maybe we could brief my team about it.
No, that's fine.
Fine. So I would also like to tell you, all of you, just off the record, since we are another 5 minutes from the beginning, Balwinder ma'am has been, so to speak, a mentor of mine. I have graduated from under ma'am's leadership. So it's a very special feeling for me to host ma'am today, and I feel like it's one of those little dreams when you see. We couldn't even speak to ma'am because ma'am has such a high aura in the university. I mean, we used to be very scared if ma'am was on the rounds. We would just rush back into class. Ma'am got declared. Now ma'am is speaking to me, and I have the chance to question her and understand the policy changes. I think it's a very special moment, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining today.
Wonderful.
So I think Mr. Arun is also here.
Tanya, it's always to see that your alumni growing big and doing the great things. So wonderful to see you, Tanya.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So Mr. Arun is also here. He's also, so I'll just give a quick introduction as well for Mr. Arun. So he's actually going to make my job a little easier once I start off and formally kickstart this session. He's going to just take a couple of minutes to set a context for the presentation, for the discussion today, with a small presentation that he has. So thank you, Arun, and I'd like to formally introduce you to my panel here.
Thank you, Tanya. Hello, everyone.
Mr. Suna, if you would just quickly want to take a minute and just engage the audience. If there's anything that you want to say, we'll start in another 2 minutes now.
Sure. So from our side, it is when you guys reached out to us also to conduct this panel today, I think we were very excited about it, and with such a illustrious list of panelists who are there with us, Dr. Uday Bhaskar, Dr. Balwinder, Dr. Sanjeti, Mr. Naveen Mittal, and of course, we are there as part of MeritTrac and Manipal group also. So of course, it has been very, we were very keen to do this for the larger community, whether it is the universities or the government agencies, which will have some recruitment plans, and for the student community also to understand, because this pandemic has been really challenging. Things have moved to us moving to a little bit of normalcy, but I think it was a unique situation for everyone, whether it was industry, whether it was government, whether it was academia, whether how to conduct the classes, the kind of challenges we faced in conduct of high stakes exams. And since MeritTrac is part of the larger Manipal group, so we have, and we are the largest, one of the largest providers of private education in India. So we also had our own sets of challenges at our universities, at our campuses, at our hospitals. So yes, it has been very interesting, and we are happy today that all of us here are together to share some insights on how we were able to manage in our respective fields, how we were able to help our customers, clients, students, and the community at large during this COVID-19, and it still continues despite the best efforts of everyone. I think all the cities, major metros have their own challenges as we have opened up offices and all, but still it is not very easy day-to-day working. Technology has made things easy, like today all of us are here together remotely. Previously it wouldn't be so. So yes, those things have started coming into the picture, but it's very interesting and uncertain times that we all went through, and some learnings we all can share today from our different perspectives. So that is what we are looking forward to.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for giving your remarks here. I think we are although another 5 minutes away, but uh, as our panel is super punctual, I think we should not even waste another minute and start off. My team gives me a cue that we are live from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and we are live here on Zoom as well. So I'm just going to take the liberty to kickstart the session. So a big welcome, a big hello and namaste to all of you from MeritTrac and ObserveNow. I welcome you all to this session called MeritTrac Presents a virtual conference on can assessments be remote and reliable. Now, before we start off, I'd like to just set a context in terms of all of you to understand what MeritTrac services are. So essentially, MeritTrac services are India's largest end-to-end testing and assessment provider in the private space. And it was established way back in 2000 actually, and they provide assessment, remote proctoring, examination management, digital valuation, and on-screen market services to corporate organizations, educational institutions, and even government agencies. MeritTrac's research-driven scientific assessments are used for corporate hiring and workforce development as well. And just another minute to highlight the work that MeritTrac has done during the pandemic. It has been lately helping a lot of educational institutions to go digital with their assessment journey and has touched about 3.5 lakh assessments in remote proctored. So a lot of questions for you, Mr. Ambrish, as well here. Recently, MeritTrac conducted country's first high-state remote proctored entrance exam called MAHE. That's for MAHE, that's the Manipal Academy of Higher Education, and touched about 1 lakh plus assessments there. So building on from that, I think today's discussion is primarily going to revolve around the context of pandemic, exams, virtual assessments, and the pros and cons of it, which we have leaders from the industry, from the academia, and from the government sector here as well in our super powerful panel today. So we're just going to walk around these areas, and we'll also discuss how much and to what extent are remote assessments reliable. So for this, we have today mapped out India's top education leaders who are going to be a part of our panel. Please allow me to introduce our power pack panel today. We've got Dr. Uday Bhaskar, who is the chairman of Andhra Pradesh Public Service Commission. Hello, Dr. Bhaskar. We've got Mr. Naveen Mittal, who is the commissioner of Telangana Education, Technical Education for the government of Telangana. Hello, Mr. Mittal. We've got Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, who's the Vice Chancellor of SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Hello, Mr. Sancheti. We've got Dr. Balvinder Shukla, who's the Vice Chancellor of AMS University. Hello, ma'am. And we've got Mr. Ambrish Sinha, who's the Chief Executive Officer for MeritTrac Private Services Limited. Hello, Mr. Sinha. Thank you all for joining us. And just before I start off and I start firing the questions that I have prepared, I think I am just going to take a minute to introduce to you Mr. Arun Bhatt, who's the Head of Enterprise and Products at MeritTrac Services. He will help us understand how the education system has coped up with the pandemic and what MeritTrac specifically, MeritTrac as an organization specifically, has done in terms of digitizing exams and education system. So, Arun, if you could just take on the session here.
Tanya,
and if you want, you can share your screen as well.
Yeah, I'm looking to share my screen. Yeah, okay.
Arun, my request would be to keep this a little bit small because we would like to hear more from our esteemed panelists.
Absolutely.
I think this is because we are helping it conduct a little bit of sales pitch from our side is there to distract you all for a few minutes. But after that, we will be over to you.
Sure, Ambrish. Tanya, can you see my screen now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Quick introduction. I'm Arun Vatsa. I head enterprise products at MeritTrac. In the next 5 to 7 minutes, I'll quickly give the context on what we have observed in the last 3 to 4 years as practitioners and solution providers in this space to kind of give initial introduction to the larger panel discussion up ahead. Right. So the first and foremost that we keep seeing in all the news bites and TV programs these days are multiple concerns around assessments and this whole evaluation space that is been caused by the pandemic. The questions are around how do colleges and universities transition from the legacy mode of assessments, paper pen, to digital mode. The second key concern is around what about accessibility, the digital barriers that a lot of students have just because they are in tier 2, tier 3 towns, villages, etc. Then there is also a question on what is the reliability of online solutions. Will they scale to tens of thousands or lakhs of candidates? And finally, the most important question that all academicians will have is what is the integrity in this whole online methodology? Will it be as sacrosanct as before, right? And all of these cannot be handled with a very simple turn on switch, turn on, turn off kind of an approach. The new normal that is approaching here, what we are seeing is digital is the new normal that is emerging, be it for admissions, be it for formative assessments, be it for summative assessments, or be it for some really high stake recruitment examinations for large government bodies, right? That is one new normal that is being established. And kind of linked to that is the fact that it is now a machine first model instead of a people first model. What I mean by that is that previously, the moment we came to assessments, the first question was, hey, how many centers? How do we print the question papers? What is the logistics involved? How do we move the question papers from point A, hub A to 50 cities? How do we do the invigilation? How do we collect the answer scripts back? How do we process the results, etc. Right? Versus now, the first question anyone asks is, hey, what is the platform? What are its technical capabilities? What is the scalability? What is the security, etc. Right? So machine first model is definitely taking over the legacy approaches in the new normal. And like I said, the turn on, turn off cannot happen automatically. There are enablers, multiple enablers that come into play. One, the platform itself, basically the technology platform plays a huge role in this, both as an end-to-end integrated suite that has all the aspects of proctoring, of test taking, of result processing, etc., combining with all the abilities of viewing the entire test taking process from a central hub to make sure that everything is working fine and none of the security or sanctity aspects are compromised, right? Then there is a people aspect. While there are technology solutions available, it is not that just by giving a new platform or a new product in the hands of people, automatically people can start using. There's a fair bit of training involved, which needs some thought process on how do proctors get trained on some of the new technology solutions. Then there is a change in process involved, be it from preparing for the live exams via mock tests, via dry runs, etc., to all the help desks and new age technology solutions that need to be enabled during the exam, to post-exam processing using of AI ML algorithms to screen the candidates who have taken the exam and then arrive at a more curated holistic shortlist of candidates, not only going by the score, but also by going by the credibility report and how the test taking experience has been, whether there was malpractice, etc. And finally, there is the content, which is also an enabler, because the moment it comes to a digital platform, the type of questions and the type of question papers that can be given to the students is very different from what would have been in a traditional paper pen model, right? Quick snapshot of MeritTrac here. We have been in business for the last 20 plus years. We just completed our 20th year anniversary. A lot of statistics that you see here. few key highlights. About 45 plus million candidates have been assessed over this past 20 years. Over 570 plus million answer scripts have been scanned over the past 20 years. And we have a huge question bank of about 2 lakh questions. And in addition, our platform is capable of taking in question banks and question papers from third-party sources like universities and colleges, etc. as well, right? We work with marquee customers and large universities. Just in the last 3 to 4 months, these are some of the key brands that we have worked with. As you can see, these are spreading all over large universities, standalone colleges, as well as corporates and industry government bodies like CIA, right? And in the last 3 to 4 months, we have done more than 3 lakh plus fully online, fully remote proctored assessments, right? And we are still counting. I mean, September again is a huge month where because of some new guidelines, there are multiple universities and colleges who are looking to complete their semester exams fully online, right? Just a quick summary of the platform that comes into play here from MeritTrac. Pariksha is our assessment platform where all the test taking happens. MeritTrac Remote Proctor 2.0 is our new remote proctoring engine, which has all the aspects of both live proctoring as well as auto proctoring. There are a bunch of signals that get captured, audio, video feeds, and AI/ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning is used to analyze these in real time and flag any anomalies or malpractices. Trac marks is our solution for paper and pen exams where answer scripts get digitized and on-screen marking is enabled for distributed faculty members to key in their evaluation. And finally, our delivery assurance, wherein all of this platform is used and orchestrated by our very well trained delivery operations team, who do everything from batch planning, scheduling, to dry run, to mockups, to live exam, to post-exam result processing. Now, assessment engine is one aspect of what we do. The other key aspect that kind of goes hand in hand with assessment is the content aspect of it. And MeritTrac has been over the years very much involved in building assessment content on multiple areas, be it domain skills like computer science, C, C++, Java, etc., or on cognitive abilities, analytical abilities, general knowledge, etc. And all of this content gets used in various types of assessments specific to either coding as code track, or let's say spoken English type of an assessment as speech track, campus interviews where large colleges use MobiTrac to streamline their interview flows because there would be multiple companies attending, etc. AceTrac is one of our flagship self-assessment product where students in colleges use this to benchmark themselves against what is against the skills in the larger context, and then get on to specific learning paths, right? And finally, just living with this thought on the extended curriculum program, because assessment in itself is one dimension to the overall skill building process, the other being learning and training, right? And these go hand in hand. It's kind of cyclical, meaning we assess people, we assess candidates, we assess students to benchmark where they are. And then there is a training aspect. They go through certain modules, they go through certain courses and upskill themselves. And again, assessment comes into play. And then we see that their skills have improved. And so it's kind of a continuous cycle. In the extended curriculum program, we offer both specialized courses, domain-specific courses for colleges and universities on sales effectiveness, data analytics, business analytics, etc., cloud computing, all industry-ready courses, which will also help them in their placements and further job hunt, as well as soft skills, be it on effective business communication, be it on management processes and organizational behavior, be it on introduction to business environment. So our extended curriculum program is designed to not replace the curriculum of universities and colleges, but rather to supplement and complement it, so that as and when they come to the market, either for jobs or for higher education, and invariably they get assessed on a lot of these things, they are absolutely ready. So with this, I'll conclude my quick introduction and look forward to an amazing panel discussion ahead.
All right. Good. Thank you so much, Mr. Arun, for laying the context here. You can stop sharing this too now.
Sure.
So I think, Mr. Arun, you have left us with a very important question. So when you say that you're not here to replace the current curriculum, but to assess and make students more future ready. So that kind of prompts me very quickly to my first question and the first topic of discussion in this area today. I want to understand the skills of future. So what really are the skills of future and how do we assess them? So if I could first move on to you, Mr. Mittal, and if you could help me understand what are the 5 most important skills that you see of the future in a post-COVID world? If you could just quickly throw some light there.
Yeah, right, Tanya. So it's a very, I would say, very important and interesting question. Skills, when we really look at skills, we divide them into basically 3 parts. One is, as Arunji was mentioning about domain-specific or sector-specific skills, which are really required for a particular sector. For example, a person who has to work in computer science, he has to have the basic computer science skills, or no, somebody who's into, let's say, field of AI, you really require AI skills. So I would categorize them into that part. The second is the general soft skills, which is communication skills, or basic computer skills, or basic managerial skills like teamwork and stuff like that. But then I would say the real important skills of the future are these high order skills. And since you asked for 5, I would kind of give you those 5 skills which I feel are important. There are many more, but this was what I feel. And the first one is basically critical thinking skill. That is, you are given a situation or a problem, and then you are able to critically think it from various angles and give your solution or kind of a way to go forward. Second is the problem solving skills, because that is really the most practical skill which is really required. Person who's in whatever job role or situation, the management expects that person to really be solving the problems related to the field he or she is in. So problem solving, I would say, is the second skill. The third is, because we are changing at a very, very rapid pace, the technology is changing at a very rapid pace. The overall geopolitical context is changing at a very rapid pace. So nature of jobs is changing at a very rapid pace. So what I feel is very important is learning to learn and adapt to the new situation. So that's
agility.
Exactly. I mean, and also to constantly learn on the job in sense. So because the skills which are learned, let's say 5 years back, may not be relevant today, and skills which are picked up today may not be relevant after 5 years. So learning to learn and adapt in the new situations, I think is a third most important skill. And the final 2 are related to what I personally feel is the future of the world is like. There are 2 things which are happening globally. One is this rise of artificial intelligence, which is putting in a lot of pressure of machine-based learning and solutions brought in by machines. So one is, there is huge pressure on human beings from the AI part. And the other is this rise of robotics, which is putting a lot of pressure from the physical part of things. So let's say the mental part from the AI world and the physical part from the robotics world. So then the question which one has to ask is that when there is this rise of AI and robotics, what is it that is very important for human beings to succeed in the future? I think there are 2 things which are very, very, very important, which machines, whether AI engines or robotics, cannot match, and they are creativity and innovation. And I think these 2 are going to be real human domains for a long, long time to come. So,
so I just have one quick follow-up question here. So when you say the rise of AI and the robotics here, as well as 2 of the skills, so do you in a way imply that education related to, understanding artificial intelligence or coding, which has also been introduced as a part of NEP in class 6 now. So do you think, so what are you implying in a way that education related to artificial intelligence and machine learning should be inculcated in school curriculums, and then, no matter what discipline that you are working or studying towards, this should run parallelly? Is that
I think going forward that is bound to happen. I mean, I can tell you maybe about 30 years back I was in school. The computers had just come in, so one was just learning basics of computers, and then my kids now are learning programming in the school. So I think this is the shape of things to come. So sooner or later AI is going to be taught to the school kids also, and I have no doubt about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's the need of the hour here. But thank you very much, sir, for being so crisp and so clear about your thoughts on this. Thank you very much for that. Now, can I move on to Dr. Bhaskaran, sir? Since you come again from a government side here, so can you tell me what are the most important skills you look for when you're hiring for a government position? So, and is there something that is relevant to the governments in India, state governments in India as well? Does that vary at that level, or is there a generic, so to speak, code of conduct that is being followed in government organizations? If you could just quickly throw some light on that, please.
Actually, we are looking for the domain knowledge. Suppose we are looking for some job like assistant engineer. One thing is general skills, whether he has general skills. The second thing is the domain knowledge. The third one is whether he has the general aptitude and general knowledge. So these are the things which we are looking at it. But at the same time, we also look for other things like computational thinking, whether he has empathy, particularly the topmost jobs where we go for interviews. We see whether they have the empathy, whether they have the ability to coordinate, whether they have the proper communication skills. All these things we also see. And these days we are also seeing whether they have the digital literacy, because we are also doing an examination on computer literacy for all the government jobs. Okay.
So I think the digital literacy would be a primary skill that would be required at this point in time and age.
Because particularly most of the people who come for the government jobs, they are from rural background, and they lack, some of them, they lack even literacy, and that's why we go for testing in digital literacy also.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts, sir. Can I quickly move on to you, Ms. Professor Shukla, and ma'am, if you could just help me understand, especially I want to now kind of move on to the assessment part of the discussion, and I want to understand, especially during this pandemic, how do you think the pace of examination has changed, and how has your university sort of adapted with agility to this situation that has arisen? Ma'am, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank for inviting me. Yes, the pandemic has come all of a sudden, and it has really changed the face of examination in many ways. Though some universities were adopting the technology long time back and conducting the examination with the aid of the technologies, but to this scale, to this level, the universities never planned. So on 16th of March, when we moved from the face-to-face learning to remote teaching mode, and we were towards the end of the completion of our academic session, and the examinations were scheduled in the first week of April, and we were not really knowing that how long this pandemic is going to, and we were still initially planned that okay, April will be over, and then from May we'll conduct the face-to-face examinations. But soon we realized the pandemic is spreading; it is not being contained, and there's no other way but to think of the digital evaluation of the students. And we had all the preparation for face-to-face examination, and we had to really put our team together that how do we really look at the examinations. Though the UGC was also preparing the guidelines by that time, but for us it was important that how our students, especially the final year students, can complete their program so that they can move to whatever their respective progressions are there, maybe the higher education or the corporate career or whatever they plan, so they can timely reach to move to those their destinations. So therefore we worked on it, and so we adopted the online examination. A conventional way of examination, we had to straightway change to the open book examination. That's the first thing we did, because we thought, okay, let's not test the knowledge of the students that has been tested during the continuous assessment, and let's look at the higher order of their learning, because we have the different type of courses. Not all the courses are not the theory based courses. We have the lab based courses, we have the project based courses and field based courses. So there were a lot of courses which can be the final examination in the form of viva. So the Viva was we conducted online on using the the digital platform, where every student made the presentation. They submitted their report well in advance to their faculty, and then the presentation was made. And a board of panelists, the internal faculty and the external experts from the industry and the subject experts came and evaluated. So those was not a difficult at all. When it came to the theory examination, so we said, okay, let's assess the higher order learning, starting from the analysis to application to evaluation and creating something. So therefore the where the student can refer all their material, whatever they wish to. If they wish to visit any sites, they can visit. And so we conducted the open book examination. The only challenge which we faced was that the students who were in the remote areas, who did not have that good connectivity for uploading the answer books after scanning it. That was the one challenge which students faced. And for us, it was like, so we kept the multiple ways of getting their answer scripts. So if the student is not able to upload, can submit their answer scripts through the email also. So we will upload on behalf of the students. We did. Now, even after
so you gave them that kind of relaxation.
We gave the multiple option to the students, so that whichever way their answer script should reach to us. Okay, so that's the comfort of the student at that pandemic time was extremely important, because the student should not be under pressure or stress. Oh, what will happen to my result? Because giving that comfort was extremely important. So the making the student support system, examination support, a separate cell was created, a team of the staff who will be answering to all the queries and providing the immediate support to the student, that okay, if the student is not able to access the question paper or is not able to upload, providing all kind of help. So experience has been a challenging for the team, but at the end we were able to complete our examination on time.
Ma'am, I think a follow-up question that arises in this situation is the million-dollar question that we're all sitting here to discuss. If you talk about remote evaluations, I want to understand from you in a yes or no here. Do you think they are really reliable?
See, I would say that
at this point in time,
I would say that there is scope of improvement, but the online examination can be reliable examination, and it can be a great aid to the assessment of the students. So because the people did not work that much, so I think it will, in times to come, that technology will play a very important role in doing the reliable assessment of the students.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. And I think that's where organizations like MeritTrac come in. This is the kind of feedback that you guys would need to sort of incorporate in the offerings that you have. You sort of understand the challenges as well that has been everyone has been facing at this point in time. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing those thoughts. I want to move on to Dr. Sancheti. And sir, I want to understand, I think pretty much the same thing from your SRM point of view here. One quick challenge that you faced, and of course the million-dollar question as well, that are the remote evaluations reliable, and how SRM at this point in time just quickly was agile enough to inculcate this huge change. And sir, I know there is a slide that you want to share, which you can now do.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, ObserveNow and MeritTrac both for this opportunity. I think I'll certainly share a slide, but I'd like to say that it's not only the changing face. I'm saying the complete body is getting changed. It's not only the face which is changing. Examinations are going through a sea change. One of the reason was we today want to measure everything called outcome and output. We have become outcome and output oriented, and in the entire educational setup, everything is measured through those kind of things. So these were already going through some change. Whether we like it or not, the COVID made it complete change in terms of what we do, what we understand.
A catalyst.
Yeah, right. It became a catalyst, and therefore everything changed for that. And keeping that in mind, I would say that what has changed in our examinations right now is in my next slide. And then obviously, if I want to talk about your $1 million question, probably in the end or maybe a little later, I'll probably add that how this is going to change. And in this case, I would say that this is what has changed in the examination. I hope you can see this slide. I'll make it full slide now. Okay. Okay, this is the full slide now. If you see the first line, first row, where there are 2 blocks in this, you probably see that there is a continuous and internal evaluation or examinations have become important. Many institutions were not doing it. Suddenly they have realized that this is important to translate the marks or convert X into Y or X plus Y or something like that. And those who had could declare their results early. But many conventional universities probably would not have had that adequately enough. For example, Pharmacy Council gave, if you have 50% marks, convert it into 100% marks. That was the order from Pharmacy Council. Now, if you have not done continuous evaluation, you could not have done it. Similarly, online has come, and online has become anywhere, anytime. And I think MeritTrac and all of us are talking about that. But fortunately, online is also applicable to laboratory, which has not been explored. Online is also applicable to some of the skill testing, which is also yet to be explored, and therefore I put this one. You go to the next 2 in the middle line. If you see group evaluations, unfortunately, we have not done. This is going to be some change in the examinations. And then, of course, the open book examination. Madam also talked about that. I fancy them a lot. I faced my first open book examination in 1983. And since then, whenever I think of open book examination, I'll have difficulty because I know those are tough. Those can be very, very testing to you. And when I was in my earlier assignment in other institution, I implemented it some 5-6 years back across all the domains, not only engineering or professional courses, across. And the biggest demand my students would have is that, sir, or Vice Chancellor, sir, please remove the open book examination system. And I used, and with folded hand, they will back to me. And with the same folded hand, I will back to them, keep the answer, keep the books closed on your desk, and it will become a closed book examination for you. And therefore, it's up to you whether it's open or closed. I leave it to you, but we will do the testing the way it is required to be done. So I think we need to force our way and do that kind of a testing. The next 2 biggest thing for me possibly would be on-demand examination. You know that when I'm ready, I eat. When I like to dress up in a certain way, I do that. When I want to study, this online method of study is 24/7, any mode, any language, anytime, anything. Same way on-demand examination. The day Sandeep is ready or Tanya is ready, they will appear in their examination. And with that, all those possibilities, what you call cheating and this and copying and this and mass thing happening will get eliminated. I'll say, okay, I have 10 slots today. These are the slots which are different. Machine is running it, and it's an on-demand examination.
Is this a reality at this point in time? Is this
very much, madam? It's just we probably need another pandemic to force such things. Maybe, I don't know, but yes, technology is there, and reality is very much there. But in case pandemic is there, I would still say that that green block which you are seeing at the bottom right probably is examination cafe. This is a new concept. There can be a teaching learning cafe also. And we are finding, all of us, for example, sitting in Delhi, MET is finding how to handle a student who is coming from Chennai. And we sitting in Chennai are finding it difficult how to handle our students who are sitting in Delhi or Noida, wherever. And therefore, if each institution of the country makes an open-ended thing called examination, like you have coffee cafes and you have many other internet cafes and all that, this examination cafe will be for anyone institution. There can be a token charge, either institution pays or the fellow who comes and uses pays. And it is full of devices and connectivity, and reliable system is there. Servers, etc. are there, and you can do whatever you want, though you may be a little far. So if you're close to a city or close to a good town, you are always connected with your institution. And with that, you can always do the examinations. So I'll call them as third-party or open examination centers. Like we have open learning centers, I will also open examination centers. So these are some of the new changes. In addition to what we have done is fine. We have taken all the examination, all the assessments are there, all the results are there. People are passing. Yes, there might be a little bit of leniency here and there. There might be a little bit of difficulty in terms of observing whether they're cheating or not. That might also be there, but it is happening. Fine. So I'll end with this as far as the changing face is concerned. But I would possibly like to come in the end or maybe later by saying what are the 7-8 technologies which are going to change the examination further. This is not enough or not complete in my opinion. I'll probably share something more to you if time permits. Thank you.
Sure, sir. At the and maybe the last slot of the discussion, we could talk about that. But thank you very much for sharing that these amazing ideas about the new age examinations. And I think I personally really liked the idea of an examination cafe. Maybe we could do another session separately on that and exploring how that would look like. Thank you very much for those thoughts. And Mr. Sinha, sir, I actually purposely came on to you at the end of this round because I wanted you to sort of understand and grasp what all our panelists have said. So now that you come from the product side here, I think a very important question that would be raised at this point in time for you would be, if you could speak for MeritTrac, how your company at this point in time is assessing the skills of the future, and especially at this time where the entire examination gambit has moved on online and it's digital. So maybe you could talk about some the ways in which MeritTrac is handling this digital shift, and also any programs that you'd be offering to create an industry-ready student force here. I think Arun also kind of left off from that point in his presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Tanya. I think very good points raised. In fact, on the future of skills, Mr. Naveen Mittal's point, I think I had written something very, very similar. And I think all of us are looking at whether we are organizations or I think whether government bodies or whether it is our own lives. I think things like what he mentioned on critical thinking, problem-solving skills. I think these are the things that are kind of the skills of the future. And so that was a very pertinent point. And Dr. Bhaskar and also mentioned about digital literacy. And Dr. Shukla also stressed how they managed the early days of the pandemic and the students gave the exams. And Dr. Sancheti had a very interesting slide and very key points. And some of it we are at MeritTrac as a practitioner and as a provider of assessments are working on it. So quickly to answer your point on the pandemic, I think the digital evaluations or remote evaluations or remote examinations are here to stay in our mind. I still remember the time when we went into lockdown around 18th of March, we announced work from home in our offices and across our company and at our other branch offices. And initially, we thought that maybe 2 months, 3 months, things will start settling down a little bit and we might be back at offices in maybe July. And it was quite foolhardy when things progressed. And we realized now on September 10th, 11th also, we are seeing such high cases. So clearly now, digital examinations, to my mind, the adoption has been high. The institutes have been very progressive. Large private universities, like we have represented on the panel, or state or central universities also are now actively looking at it. So the technology aspect of remote proctoring and all has been there in the past, but I think the pandemic has just fast forwarded it multiple times. Like we have gone through that cliched statement which has been said around in the pandemic, when nothing happens in decades, and then in a few days that decades happen. I think that is what has happened to remote examinations and digital examinations in India. And there is technology today really available, which we have used with our partner universities and clients. And there are live AI and ML based proctoring solutions. The technology requirement at the student ends had also reduced due to the advancements in streaming speeds and services that are available on a 512 kbps line also today you can do a base level remote proctored exam, which gives solves the problems of accessibility in India. I think that's a big challenge. Large universities, private universities have students which come from a different strata. They have access to laptop, desktop, Wi-Fi, broadband services, but that is not true for the large part of this country. And for them, we need a more robust system. So, I think in the remote proctoring or the digital examinations, the issue of access has been solved. But I think the integrity of the examination also needs to be protected. So the design of the examinations, which Dr. Sancheti referred, say open book examination, what I call as application-based questions will take dominance in remote proctored way, because it will increase the integrity of the examination process. It will maintain the same sanctity which is there in a center-based exam or a university or a college-based exam. Other point which improves the efficacy of digital examination is live proctoring. The availability of a live proctor to view the video, to view the examination process live as the student is taking, like suppose we are having this conversation and some colleague of yours or mine could be just observing this whole thing. That, and they can have what we call as bargains, remote bargain. They can have that and they can say, oh, this guy is moving his face too much. He's looking up, looking down, not focusing on the screen, taking too much time to answer a question which is there. So, those are the red.
Are these the AI filters that sort of do this proctoring here?
Yeah. So AI, of course, does it, but it can be further enhanced by a live proctor. So you could have a live invigilator or somebody else in person evaluating this entire process remotely. So which gives a lot of confidence and creates a little bit, I would not say fear, that is a very strong word, but some kind of a little bit more sincerity in the student or the learner that somebody is observing me apart from the machine. And hence I need to be sure about what am I doing and this. And it has now been quite well implemented. Even high stakes exam that we have done, which we call as summative examinations or entrance examinations for 3 or large universities, it has gone off with great success. Yes, you could look at designs where you give entire weightage to a digital examination or give some weightage to, like ma'am mentioned and Dr. Sancheti also mentioned, on continuous evaluation. Those models are coming true. So to my mind, remote proctoring or digital examination or online proctoring, multiple words for the same thing, but it is here to stay. It gives students the flexibility of a year-round evaluation process, not only depending on year-end examinations. So yes, that has been our experience, and process continuously improves. This was the first time it was adopted in such a large scale in India and across the world. So more improvements are coming along the way as technology adoption goes faster. The advancement also happens faster. So I think, yes, that's the.
So I think you have very clearly answered my $1 million question here. It is here to stay. You're working continuously to improve as much as you can. And this is the way of the future. Would that be safe to say? Can I interpret your answer like that?
Yeah, that would be, yeah, that would be the way of the future, along with maybe when things come back to normal, it could be a bionic thing in nature where some
blended
examinations and some remote proctored exams. I think that's the ideal way. And that puts less pressure on the students, the teachers, the faculty, and even the larger education ecosystem, I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those thoughts and giving us an idea about MeritTrac and how you're handling the assessments as well. Thank you very much. I want to now move on to the second segment of the discussion. And Mr. Mittal, so my next question is for you here. Do you think for a high-scale examinations like, let's say, the NEET or the JEE, do you think India is ready to accept remote proctoring in the coming years? Because clearly this wasn't the year it happened. So would you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think your question has two parts. One, is India ready to accept them as a reliable way of testing? And two is the technology part of it, which I think has been answered pretty well. So technology-wise, I can confidently say that today technology is there to have a foolproof and a reliable exam. I don't see too many issues related to that because there are multiple methods of human proctored exams, or as you also mentioned, AI proctored exams, which can watch the video of the candidate who's taking the exam, or the sound in the room, or any movement in the room. So all those things I think technologically are possible. I don't see too much of an issue about that. The second is, are we ready? I think going forward, I definitely see the exams to move to online proctored exams. In fact,
even
have
large scale examinations.
yeah. So for example, I have taken JEE, let's say 29 years back in the year 91. And at that time, it was a paper-based exam. But today, it is a computer-based exam. You have to go to the center and take the exam on a computer. And we had it was actually a descriptive exam, and then moved to objective type examination. So I don't think there should be any barrier for the exam to really move online proctored exam. I think reliability-wise we are ready. Technology-wise we are ready. It's only a question of when we adopt it.
Only a question when we adopt it. Any one line you want to drop in? Why do you think it failed this year?
See, we should understand. I mean, this is a crisis response we are going through, a pandemic response. Now, you suddenly cannot bring in everything possible just to overcome the crisis. I mean, it has to be. I would say it has to be an informed decision, a planned decision, rather than just a crisis response. If it is just a crisis response, then it would be there for only, let's say, a year or so as a response to the crisis and would not kind of sustain. So, I would say. To make it more sustainable, it has to be thought through, planned, and properly adopted.
Absolutely, I very much agree with that. It has to be planned and executed out in a certain way so that it's here to stay. Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. Mr. Bhaskar, sir, I want to move on to you with actually the same question, and I want to hear your thoughts on
this. I think we can go for high-stake examination, but the thing is there are certain things like it should have the public acceptability. As remote proctoring, unless it has the public, the stakeholders accept, it's very difficult to proceed with that one. The reason is, one thing is we are sure that we will depend on some service provider for that. For giving this security and whatever is the proctoring. But the public, whoever it takes, particularly for the NEET or where the competitive examination, even the government jobs, that means high-stake examination. What happens is people also should feel that there is nothing like, not only that the security-wise it is foolproof, but they should also feel that everybody should believe. That is the most important. I think we are had to move a little ahead to accept this remote proctoring. That's my opinion.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I would quickly want to move on to you, Amrish sir, once again. And I've sort of understood that 3.5 lakh remotely proctored examinations have been done by MeritTrac during this pandemic. So since we're talking about a high stakes examinations at this point in time, so do you think it's really possible to do such proctoring for a government organization where the stakes are so high? And do you think, again, quick point from the NET and the JEE exams, do you think that can be proctored, those can be proctored online in the times to come?
So I think, is it for me?
Sorry, sir?
Question is for me, is it?
No, sir. For Mr. Sinha.
Okay. So I think it's a biased question for me because as a practitioner and a provider of technology services, my answer will always be yes, why not? But do appreciate when we were conducting some of these high stakes exams, especially in the case of government.
But you can come with that expertise as well, since you've done it to a large extent.
Yeah, so I think technology is available today. And as technology is available, access to my mind is also there, but in certain cases, because a government recruitment exam, and I would not include NEET and JEE in that, because that only caters to a very limited and finite set of people, because people who have prepared and they know a guy who's scoring 30% or 40% marks is not going to write JEE or NEET. But if there is or 50% marks, he knows that you have to study harder than that to get through. But for a government recruitment exam where it is like, say, the base cutoff is a class 12th pass examination or something like that, you're talking a very large set of people applying. Maybe 10, 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs, those kind of people. A railway recruitment board exam, so to say that. So in that scenario, I think remote proctored exams can be done. But I think I would agree with the point that Dr. Bhaskar made. A little bit of acceptability has to be done. And I would also build on to the point what Mr. Mittal very rightly said, which I genuinely believe in, is that what currently we are seeing in set of exam is a pandemic response, which is because something has to be done and there is no other solution available, we are doing it. And therefore, the other things are not being taken care of. The student himself didn't know that he has to take a remote proctored exam. He didn't know that he has to carry his laptop back from his hometown or his friend's place. He got stuck in the lockdown. So those things, if they are not there, and tomorrow like a GMAT or a SAT or a college board, even in developing countries like India, have completely moved to a computer-based exam and a remote proctored-based exam, So I think in the long run, it is possible, medium term, but even if you ask me, can a large recruitment government exam in the month of December can be done on a remote proctored way? I think that would be a big challenge to solve for. It will need support of the government completely. But if you ask me 2 years down the line, it is possible. Yes, it is possible, because by then people will get used to it. Test centers will come up.
Technologically, we are ready.
Technology is ready. Technology is very much ready. Adoption of technology is also there. But for a very large population, it will take a little bit more time.
Is it the mindset that is the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think you're right. Mindset is the issue. That acceptability and mindset needs to change. Otherwise, there are always people who can find faults in any good intentioned behavior launched by the government also. So technology-wise, it is 100% there. Access-wise, it is almost there. But yes, acceptability and intent of the various bodies needs to come together to make it a success completely. That would
absolutely. I agree with that. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those thoughts. And ma'am, I want to move on to you, and I want to understand from you. I mean, you've also heard this set of discussions from the other panelists as well. Now, if we talk about the whole unification of all the exams, all the common admission tests across the country, do you think that's the way forward? And any expectations from service providers like MeritTrac to play a catalyst in such a situation?
The unification of examination for certain aspect is welcome step, but not for all categories. And this is also good for those institutions or universities or the organizations which are conducting the examination for a specific purpose, not only for the admissions, maybe for the and that NTA can be the very, very useful way to conduct the examination, assess the student to be eligible for maybe the recruitment, maybe for the admissions and all. However, the some university where they have the very, very specific requirement for the, say, for the admission purpose, maybe the NTA may not be the ideal solution for those universities. But in general, when we talk, yes, the NTA is the unification of the examination is the welcome step, I would say, in the larger interest of. But I would also like to mention that when we were talking about the remote proctoring exam, I want to make a point on that also. The technology is ready. It's not the mindset, I would say, because there are the practical problems are there, and that
please throw some light on that.
I would say the practical problems are there. Say the technology is ready, but what happens? The accessibility of the bandwidth in the remote areas. So if that is not there, then no matter what technology is, that cannot really meet out all the requirements. Where the students are in the very remote area, and bandwidth is so poor, and you cannot, if you have to write your examination, you cannot keep your webcam on. So only that you have downloaded the question, you write the examination, and then you send through email or you upload. But then the human proctoring or the AI proctoring cannot happen. And we have practically seen these issues with the students. The technology is powerful where the bandwidth is available. But if the bandwidth is not available, then this issue is faced. So therefore, as a government also have to take the initiative so that the the telecom network and the bandwidth is available at every nook and corner of the country when we are going for the digital platforms and online examination and online teaching learning, or the remote way of teaching learning. Is very, very important. I think pandemic has given us a great insight into that, and is made the country look forward many ways. But I think we also have experienced the weakness of our the infrastructure, telecom infrastructure, and that need to be really worked if we want the student to have the proper learning of and the proper assessment of that and the proper development of the what the industry tomorrow needs, the skilled manpower and a high end manpower, and that therefore the infrastructure need to be improved substantially in this country.
And who can play a role in that, ma'am? If you could
See,
just talk about that.
the government has to, first thing, government has to play the role, and to strengthen the infrastructure.
And where do private players step in at this?
So that's the way the private players will come, but the government has to come up with the policies, how they can improve the infrastructure, and how they can reach the at the end of the day, mostly it is the private players. If you look at the Reliance Jio or the Airtel and all those things, but it's their network only which are not having that kind of the bandwidth in the certain remote areas.
Right.
So Tanya, if I can come in and just supplement which Dr. Shukla was just talking about, in the sense the remote access part of it, because we are also grappling with the same situation in our public universities also. So I think the way I look forward at it is that it will probably become a kind of an option. You can either have an online proctored exam, or you can go to a center for a computer-based testing where center is organizing that. I mean, something similar to how JEE became computer-based testing. In the sense, in the first few years, you had an option of writing a paper-based test and then also a parallel option of a computer-based testing. And then fine day, when the systems became more mature, it became an only computer-based testing. So I think similar sort of a thing is also likely to happen as we move forward. So if candidates can get an option of an online proctored exam, where they would have the, let's say, device or the bandwidth to do that can be done, and others can go to a physical center to do that. And maybe in the second stage, those physical centers, for example, the examination cafes, which Dr. Sancheti talked about, also come in, which provide this option for kind of online proctored in those cafes where students can actually use the device or the bandwidth, and then finally it becomes completely online proctored. And I think I would say that would be the kind of roadmap we're going to see forward.
Sure. Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts here again. Dr. Sancheti, can I move on to you with essentially the same question, of course, and sort of have your thoughts as well?
Sure, Tanya. Let me first respond to your last question a little bit. You asked the million dollar question, and I didn't answer that. Let me tell you that technology is also not free from anything called wrong or cheating. All right. And the offline or the physical mode anyway is also full of that. I think many of us remember those shots 2 years back in an examination hall in Bihar, where on every window someone was hanging around and trying to help the people cheat. I do not know how many administrators were involved in that, teachers or others, but this is the reality of India. So in technology also, if that is the model, cheating will happen. I would say Munna Bhais were there, are there, and the new Munna Bhais will also come with the technologies for sure.
The tech, I think, absolutely. Anyone who creates the tech has the control in his hands.
It's part in our system or in our blood or in our genes or whatever it is, that we will challenge it up to the hilt. Unless we are caught and we are penalized, we will attempt it. It's more so prevailing in our setup right now for whatever reasons. I'm not cursing my country, but it's very much there. All right. So I would say that both are equally bad, the technology one and the earlier one. we always have cases. I've never seen in my life, I'm there in 36 years in the educational institution, that the examinations are free from that. Invigilators may be ill-equipped, they are not keen, they are doing something. Students are smart, all those texts are also there. And therefore, let's forget about that. It will improve only if our mindset improves, that we don't want to cheat and we want to perform and reach wherever we want to reach. That's one thing. The second thing would be, if the number of opportunities which are there is more or less similar to number of people who are attempting something, I think the cheating will become lesser. Right now, it's the demand and supply which is forcing them to take different methods. Same is true for many other things in the society, but I would say that in examination also. So I would say that technology will bring some changes. For me, technology will be even better, because if an invigilator catches me doing some cheating, then it is hard for him to prove later that what kind of cheating I was doing. I have rubbed something, I have swallowed the slip, and all those things which happen. Maybe if you are, it also depends whether you're handling a boy or a girl and which kind of an invigilator is there. Can he handle and check and all that? Various things are there. And therefore, there are sensitivities also involved. But technology is insensitive to all that. If he has caught me, it is fine. It is Tanya, it's also fine. Both will be treated equally. And technology will always provide a recorded proof rather than a changed version. So that's my take as far as this thing. So if we have to improve on that aspect, it is more on our societal things and our mindset which change. The second thing you possibly said was technology people are not taking, or whatever such things which are there. I must give you an example, because I was also chairman of AIEEE 2010-11, and also entire form of new JEE was conceived by us. I was involved almost in all committees in 2012-13 of that. And I must tell you that initially when people went for JEE online method, we floated it and there are no takers. No one is interested in that. Everyone had a fear of technology. But then there were some bold guys who thought, okay, this online is happening for 4 days because it cannot happen in one day. Let's book the fourth day slot, so that from the first 3 days, we will get some hint. We'll get some models. What are the types of questions, what to prepare? What is the difficulty level? Is maths difficult or physics difficult? Or some friends or some dummy candidates from coaching will come and give you some prompt. And therefore, they started using technology. So there was a lure that we may crack the examination a little better if we make use of technology. And slowly and gradually, it got accepted. It's very much possible. Now, trying to answer the points which all of you probably tried, and you have asked me the same thing, I would possibly say that I come from Rajasthan, and you probably know why I'm saying that. Quota is the biggest thing for JEE.
Yeah.
For first 30, 40 years of its biggest thing in JEE, Quota never had a JEE advanced or JEE final exam center. Every student had to rush out of Quota to Bhopal or to Jaipur or to Delhi or to wherever they can go to appear in the examination. Now, same thing can be done by the technology. You don't have in your village, you don't have in your town the capacity of devices or bandwidth. Don't worry about it. Travel 200 kilometers where the cafe-like thing which I have told you can be created very easily. All government engineering colleges or centers can be made a cafe. They can be given an MPLS connectivity, a very dedicated connectivity. Probably some of you know about that kind of a connectivity, which will help you. And it's a reliable connectivity, by the way. And with one camera or 5 cameras, not hundreds of cameras, you can monitor the entire hall. You can zoom whatever sector you want and you are monitoring. Neither you need more invigilators, nor you need more bandwidth and cameras. And by the way, let me tell you as a teacher, some of your teachers, madam is my senior, Shukla madam from the same, we are PhD from the same institution. I must tell you, the most thankless job which we do, or we don't want to do rather, you can say, is the invigilation. And therefore, this all will be eliminated. Criminal wastage of our time will be eliminated from all this thing. And therefore, technology is something which is going to play the positive role, whether we like it or not. So I've given you those examples to tell you that there are many things which will come. And to support my answer a little bit more, what more technologies will come. I fancy technologies, and therefore I'm trying to say that. Can I show 2 slides to you? Is it possible?
Yes, quickly.
Oh yeah, quickly, no problems. Okay, very quickly, I'll come to that. Yeah, so new technologies I'm trying to show. And by the way, these technologies are nothing but, the first one is this. I have listed 6 technologies here, which are going to play a role in teaching, learning, academics, examination. But I've put 2 ellipses here. The one which is a red ellipse, probably you can see text to voice and voice to text already happening. Imagine I can give an examination without writing. You don't have to write the examination. You have to give the speaking examination. So for many people who cannot write well or whose handwriting are not good, can possibly opt for that. Biometric eye tracking, we are already trying to talk about that through certain means which are there. Smart classrooms can be something very good for testing the knowledge continuously. You have seen KBC. Amitabh Bachchan will give the clickers and ask you the answer of ABC. I think I can keep doing it. It'll be fun in my class and I'll still learn, and everything is recorded. I can do the marking also. 5G technologies, you probably know, are very, very important to make the scalable examinations. I think MeritTrac heavily depends on that. I don't know whether they use AWS or Azure or whatever it is, their own system, but I think 5G technologies will be solving the bandwidth issue or tracking issue. And I come to my last slide, and these are once again the fancy technologies which are going to creep in the examination as well as in the academics. Once again, I would possibly say that AI is coming already in some way. We are already talking about that, but wearable devices will also come, and that will make my life easy. For example, I said talking or speaking kind of examination will be from wearable devices. Even other things can be coming, and that's going to be very, very big.
Wearable devices, I think they are already there, Reliance and many
but
other.
But not in examination, and therefore I have said that they are already there, but can be used. But today we don't like gaming or game or devices inside the classroom. But if I allow my students to play games of management and design and something and create, I can do a continuous evaluation on game-based learning and game-based examination. And imagine a flexible display, a foldable display, which is there, which becomes my book, which becomes my pen, which becomes my paper, which becomes my bag, which becomes my examination sheet, everything with that, which becomes my book also. So open book, everything in a flexible display. Once again, I can conduct the examination very nicely. So world is full of opportunities and technologies which can do wonders. That's all I have to say, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
I'll get out of that presentation now. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. I just quickly want to take up 1-2 questions from the audiences. I do have a lot of my own still, but let's just try to see what the audiences are saying here as well. So I'll just take this question from Dr. C.S. Arora. And he says that the visiting professors take lectures as guest faculty. Not being on rolls for the university, they don't get training on online teaching and assessment. What could governments or the concerned universities do to bridge this training divide? I think that's a very important question. So anyone from the panel who would like to jump in and take a head start on this question? Yes, ma'am.
See, the visiting faculty play a very important role in the teaching learning. I think the universities are very conscious when they engage the visiting faculty. They do conduct the training program for the visiting faculty. Government will not be able to do much for the visiting faculty. It is the institutions, wherever any individual is a visiting faculty, and they have to really train their visiting faculty also as they train their regular or the core faculty. Plus, the individual himself or herself also have to continuously learn the new technologies, new tools which are used for the remote teaching, learning, and assessment. Because unless the individual himself or herself develops for the make conversant with the new technologies, new tools, will not be able to will be effective neither the teacher nor as an evaluator. So it's very important for an individual to develop himself or herself, but the institution also have to play a very important role. For example, in our university, before starting the academic session, we conducted the workshop for all the faculty, not only for our core faculty, but equally for the visiting faculty. What are going to be the various tools which will be used for teaching, learning, and assessment? And what will be the periodicity? How will you be recording your class? How will you be preparing the e-content? How will you upload the e-content? How the e-content will be tracked? How the class will be tracked? How the students' attendance will be tracked? How how the assessment of the students will be done, the way it was done for face to face, but now how the online assessment will be done, and as a group exercise, how the group exercises will be done. All those things, the faculty need to be trained on all those tools. Then only they can effectively deliver the course and assess the learning outcomes of the students.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. I think that's very rightly said. It's more the responsibility of the organizations, the universities as well, to do that right kind of teacher training. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Doctor. Just maybe another question that we could take. Okay, I think Mr. Anupam is a student. I think I can guess by the looks of his question. I think what he's essentially trying to say here in this question is that is it okay to kind of treat exams in the same way that we treated them in the pre-COVID world, as in the pressure that comes with it? And also, are there some skills that universities or even, I think in this case, I would like to come in and talk about MeritTrac as well, the people who design such courses, industry-ready courses, to help us understand our purpose in life and, the higher order of things, apart from just that skill-focused learning that we try to, do in your university or your colleges as well. So anyone from the audience who wants to quickly take this last question and answer this. Anyone? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Pre-COVID testing of the students, the examinations were a different way of doing it. During COVID pandemic and the post-COVID pandemic, assessment is going to be different because we need to now see that the knowledge, when we talk about the knowledge testing, that's I think can be done if you are creating that e-content, and there itself the student can do the self-learn, testing how much the knowledge I have acquired. It's a more aspect important is the application of that knowledge, analytical abilities, the application and the creating, evaluating, design thinking and creative innovation. That kind of the skill sets will have to be developed. Therefore for that the assessment also have to be different. And so therefore it will not be the same evaluation. Faculty have already started using more design based problem giving or analytical problems giving to the students. And also in the remote teaching mode or the online teaching mode, you cannot engage the students in the lecture mode in the class. You need to have the interaction with the students all the time. Therefore there will be more assessment and the more interaction. So therefore the assessment will be more continuous than the what it was earlier. It was earlier there may be only 3 components during the one semester, but now it may be the multiple components, because you are interacting with the students every day and assessing the how they are, whether they have learned the concept. So then there's no presentation in the class, clearing the concepts have already been given in the e-content. And if e-content is not given to the students beforehand coming to the class will never be effective.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tanya, can I also add a little value? If I've understood the question correctly, the question was that can we go to pre-COVID times in examination, kind of a thing? I would only I would answer it by saying that once technology creeps in our life, it is difficult to wish it away. I don't think so today we can live without bikes and motorbikes. We cannot live without pressure cookers in our kitchen or gas. We cannot live without mobiles in our hands. We obviously cannot live without internet working for us. Technology is addictive. Technology is a force. Technology is a need. Whatever it is, technology makes things easy when they function. Of course, when they don't function, they bother you. And therefore, I would say that people like us would be relying more on technology. I gave you the example that my invigilator cannot do certain things in the classroom when he's invigilating what my technology can do. So why should I waste my man hours when something dumb called machines can do it for me with more reliability? And therefore, answer is it is not going to go to the pre-COVID times. It will remain in post-COVID times. COVID times may be slightly different, but post-COVID will be much more different. That's my answer, Tanya. I think you're probably currently connectivity issue. Yeah. Okay, I think some of us can take the question further if you'd like to answer. Sinha Saab, you are the one who deal with it almost daily or
So
at
I
a larger
echo
scale.
your sentiment. I think I also read that question on the panel it came. So my also view is that only that once the student have tasted and the universities have also implemented remote proctoring, online proctoring, or some kind of digital evaluation through Zoom, MS Teams, it is going to not come back to normal. It's like in our office, we discuss, some employees are asking us that will work from home end after the pandemic ends. Now that is not going to end. Now certain part of our workforce, we have actually launched a work from home policy. Now they will not come back to the way it was, that everybody has to be in office 9 to 5 and do it. So as I completely agree with you that it is not going to go back. And once technology comes in, then it only improves and enhances. It will not be that it is like a gin. When it has been opened up, it has come out of the bottle. Now it is going to take its own form and shape, and things are going to be, I think, both the factors will play out. Classroom examinations might continue, but digital examinations are here to stay.
Okay, madam is here. Otherwise, I was tempted to ask one from the chat. Very interesting question, madam. Please allow me to take that role. And someone is asking the very fundamental thing, the very base thing. What is the purpose of the exams? What is served by the examination? I think it's a very interesting question that some of us try to answer it, if you can. Anyone can take a call. Here, I've taken the role of moderator. Maybe Tanya would be the most independent person to answer that.
Sir, if anyone from the panel wants to take up that question, I'm now back.
Okay, Tanya. Yeah, sure. So if I can pitch in, so this is, I think, a question which we should be asking much more frequently, because we have been having this big bang semester end or year end kind of an exam approach for I mean, years and years and decades, and is it really helping to assess students properly? And this is a real question which we need to ask. And I think moving forward, I see more and more continuous evaluation happening. In fact, Dr. Sanjeti was mentioning about it in one of his slides, where he was talking about that you can have continuous evaluation. So I think going forward, there's no real need to wait for the end of the semester or end of the year to conduct exams. You can actually assess the student almost every week, or after every class, or whenever you really want. I mean, you can actually concurrently keep doing it, and we can get out of this big bang kind of an approach for exams. And second thing which I want to point out is again something which is very, very beautifully written in our new national education policy, which also tries to answer this question. And it uses three sentences for it. It says assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. And if I can just elaborate on it, these three sentences are very, very interesting sentences. So assessment of learning is for the evaluator side, in the sense a teacher or the system to know how much the student has actually learned. So you assess the student from the point of view of the amount of learning which the student has done. And this is for the purpose of an evaluator or the teacher or the system. Second one is assessment for learning, which is basically for the purpose of the student, in the sense, if I have taken, let's say, a lecture or a class or a group of lectures or a bunch of lectures, then at the end of the lectures, I want to know myself as to how much I have learned, what are my weak points, what are my strength points. And that assessment is actually a feedback to the student to really focus on something which he or she may have missed or needs to work upon as an add-on to what he or she is learning online. And the third one is assessment as learning. And that is again very, very interesting, in the sense assessment as a learning is like, let's say you try to do something as part of an assessment which you would not have done before. Let's say it's like a kind of an assignment you do, or a project which you do, and actually doing that project or actually doing that assignment and then assessment of that helps you to learn a concept which you would not have learned otherwise. So I would say, I mean, we really need to be asking this question more often, and we really need to change along with the power which the technology and the times are providing us.
Absolutely.
I will add a small point to assessment, and unfortunately, we see it as only one-way traffic. That a teacher will assess the students. Why shouldn't a student assess a teacher? I think that's something very, very important. And that concept of smart classroom clickers, which I was saying, was used by one of the persons. I heard from him 10 years back at the age of 65. He said, I wasted my life as a teacher. What he used to do at that time, the clickers were not there. At the end of the class, he will give small slips, A4 size cut into small pieces, and ask every student to write what was the best concept taught today in the class and what was the worst concept taught in the class, and put it in the box while you're leaving the class. It always helped him to regulate this. What happened with that? It was a feedback and it was an assessment of the teacher for himself by the students. So let's see the assessments very, very important all around. And the question which I was trying to read from from Anupam Sarpaha was also talking about what do they measure and for whom. I think they measure for everyone. And what do they measure? I think the measurement has to be 360 degree. Right now, ours is not even 180 degrees, I will say. We are only able to reproduce what we are saying, apply or and various other things which is related to it in terms of taking difficult calls or decisions in difficult conditions. All those things are never tested. So number one, the measurement should be 360 degree. And number two, for every stakeholder, the assessment should be done, for teacher, for vice chancellor, for media, for anyone.
Okay? Absolutely. It has to be a two-way process where, the student and the teacher as well, learn from each other, because now the times are absolutely changing and sometimes students teach a little more to the teachers. Like when you talk about technology, I was the one who taught my mother, how to handle a Facebook account or how to handle an Instagram account. So of course I've learned everything from her, but that was something that I taught her. So, it's a two-way interaction when it comes to technology. But having said that, I think that's beautifully summed up by all of you. So just a minute, if I could quickly take and, Mr. Sinha, I could come to you, and if you want to do a quick thank you here or share your learnings in 2-3 lines before I move on to the conclusion of this.
Yeah, it's been a great session. I think my colleague Daljit is here. He's been silent, so I would allow him to do that.
Yeah, I will move on to Daljit, but anything you want to add on before that?
I think it's been a great discussion, some very valid points, and our view, of course, and from the panel, I think the student community who's listening or the teacher community who's listening also, and practitioners, I think assessments has to be a two-way street, as mentioned. And valid point from the education policy, as Mr. Mittal mentioned, assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as a learning. In fact, I had read about it and then the NEP came out. So I think these are the takeaways, and digital evaluation, digital examinations, technology as an enabler for assessments, more which are application-based, I think are the way forward. And this pandemic has been a great learning experience, and yeah, it is an uncertain time and a very difficult time for many, but many positives also come out of such a crisis. And I think I strongly believe that the whole online education space, as well as the digital examinations or online evaluation space, will see a transformational change coming out of this pandemic. And I think the panel today beautifully expressed some of those points, and I'm thankful on behalf of our company and you guys for putting this together. So for me, it's been a great experience to interact and learn some of the points from all the panelists.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Can I quickly move on to you, Mr. Daljit? Then, you've been listening him very patiently, and I'm sure you've made really nice notes. And, I think you'd be the best person to sort of give an overall 360-degree view of quick learnings that you shared for our panel, and in sort of a concluding remark here. So just a quick introduction for Mr. Daljit. He heads the government business at MeritTrac Services. So, sir, please.
Thank you, Tanya. First of all, thanking all the panel speakers. It was a very informative session, actually. A lot of good insights came through. So starting with Mr. Mittal, I think very, very interesting points to note about when you said like some of the critical skills, what you look into that. I think something which I liked the most was the adaptability part, which you said, and the artificial intelligence and machine learning and all that, which are the talk of towns these days. So I think very, very interesting to have those kind of inputs from you. Then I think Dr. Bhaskar, very important thing which you also made, that whatever being a government institution, I think we do, it has to have an indication of inclusivity, because people from even the tier 2 and tier 3 cities or towns have to have that same kind of fair kind of given to them. One thing which I would like to quickly ask you, sir, you did mention that because public acceptability is something which is one thing very, very important. Would it be possibility, let's say in a government space, if you were to look for a examination which is not very sensitive, let's say it could not be a recruitment examination, but maybe a departmental examination with which remote proctoring can work through?
Yeah, I think that can be done. Because otherwise, regular exams means, because there is a lot of competition and everybody is worried about things, isn't it? They are not confident that whether it is really secure or not. That is the biggest thing. I think the first thing is maybe I think the sequencing of this is first thing is we should this remote proctoring. First, we should apply it for online courses, then for university examinations. Then for this departmental test type of things which you are telling, and then for admission tests, and finally, I think the last one should be the government hiring.
Sure, sir. Sure.
I think that should be the sequencing which should be done.
I think thanks for valuable insights, sir. In fact, why this idea came to me was because there have been many government institutions which also have shown their interest in the last couple of months, because after some universities examination and NTA went with this. So that was the idea which I thought probably I'll just take your inputs and your guidance also, like if that could be the approach we can take on that. So thank you, sir, for that. Dr. Shukla, ma'am, thank you so much. I think very interesting to note the kind of insight which you shared. And I think something which I liked when you talked about on book examination, open book examination. In fact, when this idea came up a couple of months back, most of the students, most of the people with whom we were talking, let's say if I've got my daughters also, when we were mentioning that open book examination is the way forward, I think one thing which used to come from their side, then what is the purpose of examination if somebody is going to refer to the kind of open text and all those things? But I think, sir, Dr. Sancheti, also you mentioned very well that it is not something which is as easy as it looks like. So it's pretty kind of interesting thing, and it's gone out the challenges and all that. So good to know about some of the initiatives what we have done from the MIT University also. So I think thankful for your information as well. And Dr. Sancheti, pretty impressed with a couple of insights which you mentioned, some of the new thing which you said about, let's say, the exam cafes. I think that's something which definitely can be looked upon, because obviously when we want to kind of talk about multiple kind of students or candidates who are there in the tier 2, tier 3 city, and as we rightly said, because connectivity or bandwidth could be a constraint, I think exam cafes definitely serve as a purpose. So it's a very good insight, which I guess all of us, and particularly me and the other audience also, we would have liked about this idea. I think thanks to all the panelists, speaker, it was a very informative session. And I guess like all the audience would have also benefit from the insights coming from the industry experts, the academicians from that. And I think we look forward for similar guidance and support from you going forward also, sir. Thank you so much, all that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Daljit, for actually summing the whole session up. And once again, a big thank you to all of you here. The discussion was intended to be us to exceed the time limit a little bit, which actually I personally think is a very good thing, because we got to get a lot more information that we actually intended to get from this session. And the idea was here to satisfy the audiences as well, and to also facilitate a peer-to-peer meeting between all of you as well, so that you sort of understand what your counterpart is doing in the industry. So I think that was really important as well. So personally, for me, it was a very, very interesting session to host all of you, to question all of you, and to understand how NEP is going to pan out and how reliable are remote proctoring and digital assessments at this point in time. I think a lot needs to be done, and a lot is being already done with private players like MeritTrac, and with all of you taking the initiative to give the best quality products and give the best quality exams and create the best quality of students. I think India is headed for a great future here. And on that note, thank you very much. A recording of this session will be available on ObserveNow's Facebook page. Just a quick one-line intro about ObserveNow as well. We are India's first GK app that produces news and content in 120 words. So if you want, you can check us out on Google Play, and something really interesting. A lot of interesting content is up there. But thank you very much, MeritTrac, for giving us the opportunity, and thank you very much to all my panelists, Mr. Bhaskar, Dr. Sancheti, Balvinder ma'am, Mr. Sinha, Mr. Mittal. I think all of you shared great insights with us. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, Tanya. You have been great host.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to be on this panel.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. It's been really a real pleasure to be in part of this.
Same. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Sandeep, it's wonderful to see you again.